Humboldt County. This is the real Northern California, and this program is the Grand Tour. We're going to show you some wonderful places to see and some great things to do. With just a couple of exceptions, everything we show you is within an hour's drive from Eureka and Humboldt Bay, most of it just a half hour away. Now, there are 2.5 million acres of mostly forested and preserved lands to share with just 125,000 Humboldt citizens. These are some of the nicest people in the world and your guides for this journey. You'll see beauty, tradition, history, creativity, and the rewards of a simpler life. And you might find yourself asking, do I really have to leave so soon? And realizing you can stay a little longer to see and experience more of what this paradise has to offer. So come on, discover Humboldt. Let's get started with one of the natural wonders of the world, those monuments to millennia, the redwoods.
Discover California's rainforest. Here at Founders Grove on the Avenue of the Giants, you'll experience one of 12 ancient forests about an hour south of Eureka and 1,000,000 years into the past. This 33-mile scenic drive is home to some of the largest specimens of Sequoia sempervirens, the tallest trees in the world. They spring from these tiny seeds and reach almost 400 feet high. Try to comprehend what happened in the life of this one, the Dyerville giant, which lived to be nearly 2,000 years old until it was uprooted by the falling of a neighboring tree. You see, redwoods have a very shallow root system, and they intertwine their roots to attain stability and height. When a giant like this falls, many times its neighbors do too. But their beauty does not end. It begins its life anew as a nursery tree. As a fallen redwood decays, it feeds and nourishes new redwood sprouts and hosts new plants, animals, and insects. Ferns, moss, mushrooms, and many smaller organisms will spend hundreds of years recycling the giant as it lies on the forest floor. When you walk through this peaceful paradise, you're literally walking in and on the forest. Look way up to find the osprey, marbled murrelets, and spotted owls who nest in the towering canopies. A stop at the visitor center near Weot will show you the animals that live in the forest and meadows, or what the creatures that only come out at night look like. Weave through the many trails in the land of the tallest trees. Backpacking is the most intimate way to really experience the redwoods, or ride the specially marked trails for mountain bikes or horses. Cuneo Creek is one of the few places in California where you can corral your horse in a special equestrian campground. Camping in the redwoods could be a way for you just to relax and take in a serenity that is refreshing and for many truly spiritual. Campsites are often available at the last minute. Call or stop by any campground entrance. We're linked so we can tell you right then. What is the one image that everyone seems to identify with our land of the giant redwoods? A car driving through one. Don't miss your chance to take a picture of you and your car at the drive-through tree on the Avenue of the Giants near Myers Flat. To keep cool in southern Humboldt during the summer months, just dive into the many rivers. Try Swimmer's Delight along the Van Duzen River along Highway 36, or take a dip in the Eel River at Benbow Lake, right next to Highway 101. Visit Benbow State Recreation Area during Blues on the Lake, arts fairs, or the annual Shakespeare Festival. In August, at nearby French's Camp, Reggae on the River is the largest and finest reggae music festival in the world. It sells out early, so get your tickets several months before. You might want to stock up on supplies in Garberville, the largest town around for 20 miles, or at any of the small country markets in towns like Phillipsville, Miranda, or Redcrest.
Just an hour's drive north of Eureka, giant trees meet the sea in overwhelming grandeur here at Redwood National and State Parks. These huge redwoods are only found along a 500-mile stretch of California's northern coast. The biggest, tallest, and greatest concentration of them occur here in Humboldt County, protected by the state and national park systems. Be sure to stop at the Redwood Information Center where the latest information on anything related to the Redwoods is yours. The center was built on the site of a former lumber mill. The nearby town of Eureka, gateway to Redwood National and State Parks, is somewhat quieter now after the closing of the surrounding mills. But the woodworker's spirit is still alive along the roadside with their redwood sculptures. Visit with the artists and pick up a souvenir of your visit. Eureka has a spirited rodeo in July with fun for the whole family. Check out the Chamber of Commerce for information on renting much quieter horses. One of the most popular and accessible places is Prairie Creek Redwood State Park, right off Highway 101. The Roosevelt elk roam freely around the park and right along the highway. Drive carefully, they do have the right-of-way. Driving down Gold Bluffs Beach Road to the coast from Prairie Creek takes you to a place you've probably already been to, but a long, long time ago. This is Fern Canyon, home to the dinosaurs in the hit movie Lost World, the sequel to Jurassic Park. How could Hollywood resist this canyon's vertical walls, draped with moist emerald green ferns and velvety moss? Wear sturdy shoes that can stand the moisture so you can make a quick getaway from any roaming dinosaurs. Trails all over the parks vary from easy to difficult to fit your desire. A few are wheelchair accessible and some are posted with braille signs. The overwhelming majesty experienced by all your senses will make this a rare experience indeed. Why are the redwoods here? Most visitors quickly realize it's the water. These giants even draw some of their moisture from the fog and mist that drape their upper boughs. They also have an amazing internal pumping system to get all that water throughout the tree. Thousands of gallons a day, one molecule at a time. Water defines our paradise. Our beautiful lagoons are a perfect example. The 5 major ones demonstrate their natural geologic cycle from lake-like to marsh. Fresh water flows from the coastal hills into these oceanside lagoons, where the occasional mix with ocean water makes them brackish. Walk along the sand spit that forms Big Lagoon and hunt for moonstones, opals, agates, jade, and petrified wood that wash up on shore. Camping is available in the county park at the southern end of the lagoon. The day use areas make it easy to go canoeing, windsurfing, or sailing. Go trout fishing or boating on Freshwater Lagoon just to the north. You can cook your trout and camp right on the beach, between the Pacific and a cool forested lagoon. You'll see our fishing hawks, the osprey soaring above, often with a trout or a perch in their talons. If you wish to see the whales in their twice-yearly migration, one of the best spots is from the magnificent cliffs of Patrick's Point State Park, a local favorite. It's a great playground for the kids in one of the most unique settings you'll ever experience. Want to get married? Many ceremonies are performed here on Wedding Rock above the crashing sea. The park is also home to Sumag, a recreated Yurok Indian village, complete with sweat lodge, dance pits, and handcrafted canoes. You'll be reminded of the culture and people that came before us and are such an important part of our community today. They traded extensively from the ocean inland using the rivers.
For many tribes, life is centered around the rivers. To some, this region is also known as the land of the 6 rivers. These include the Trinity, the Smith, the Klamath, the Mad, the Eel, and the Van Dusen rivers. They shaped our lives as well as the landscape. It's amazing how long these rivers have to run north to make that short westward journey to the ocean. Many tribes have made these valleys and forests their home for thousands of years. The Tolowa, Yurok, Hupa, Cholula, Chimariko, Lassic, Wailaki, and Wiyot people are some that have hunted, fished, and gathered food in this plentiful wilderness. Mother Earth has always provided us a rich diet of deer meat, salmon, mushrooms, berries, and acorn flour. Herbs gave us medicine. Willows, beargrass, hazel sticks furnished us with ceremonial regalia and materials to weave. Our baskets are world famous. Come and see them here in the Hoopa Valley Tribal Museum or at the Clark Museum in Eureka. Our ceremonies are open to the public, and we especially invite you to join us at our Sovereign Days and at the All-Indian Rodeo, both held in August. Indian gaming casinos are found here and in several other tribal areas of the North Coast as well. Come try your luck. Getting around in this rugged country has always been difficult. It was our canoe building skills that opened up the passageways of the rivers to us. Our best craftsmen would search for a perfectly sized fallen redwood tree and start a slow burning fire in the middle. Carefully chipping away the charred wood transformed the tree into a canoe. Ocean fish and seashells were regularly traded as far as 150 miles inland for items like obsidian to make arrowheads. A vast trading network made our rivers the first highways of the North Coast. Today we hold some areas of the rivers as sacred ceremonial and fishing grounds. However, there are still many areas left to be discovered in this beautiful valley.
Welcome to the Trinity River. We own one of several rafting companies waiting to guide you down the rapids or the lazy winding streams.
Few places in the world offer better rafting, kayaking, and total wilderness experiences. Many accomplished kayakers come here specifically to run the rivers. For everyone else, call up the companies in the yellow pages under River Trips to schedule a trip the next day. Guided trips are easy, safe, and fun. Watch the wildlife as you glide through the majestic canyons, knowing there are few places where so grand a wilderness is so accessible. This is the majesty of the Trinity Recreation Area. Your gateway is the town of Willow Creek. Stop here for supplies, information, and tall tales, just like the old days. Compare your foot size to the Bigfoots at the China Flat Museum.
As you follow the roads which run along the rivers, it's hard not to stop. Who could resist picnicking or laying on one of these pristine beaches? The clean, cool river is a welcome change from the hot summer sun. Be careful, though, of occasional strong currents. Highway 299 is especially important because it is the entrance to Six Rivers National Forest and the Trinity Alps Wilderness. This is some of the finest backpacking and camping anywhere. The Alpine lakes are incredible and are just waiting for your fishing prowess.
Have we forgotten to mention the great fishing? Tie your fly or bait your hook and get ready to catch trout, steelhead, or salmon in these gorgeous rivers. Guides, boats, and information are available along the way, or call the Willow Creek Chamber of Commerce or any of the Forest Service stations.
Spanish galleons brought the first Europeans to the North Coast in the 1700s. After that, sparse trading occurred from the occasional seafaring vessel. In 1849, the first overland expedition came through the Trinity Wilderness and reached the Pacific at the mouth of the Mad River. The frontiersmen got into a huge fight over which way to go, supposedly where the name of the Mad River originated. The party split, with one group going south to settle Humboldt Bay and another going north to claim the small port of Trinidad. Today, Trinidad is an active fishing village. The most prominent feature, Trinidad Head, protects the harbor like a huge sentinel watching over his peaceful air. A well-maintained trail will lead you to the top for a bird's-eye view of the coast. You see the many coves and secluded beaches from this vantage point. Be sure to bring your binoculars. Purchase a pack of the flavorful smoked salmon in town and see why we're famous for it. Restaurants offer the freshest seafood. Kids will have a great hands-on adventure at the Humboldt State University Marine Laboratory. Investigate the incredible life of tide pools and the undersea world. Then walk to the beautiful beaches right near town. You'll see sea lions and shorebirds galore. Walking near the waves really nurtures the soul. Just to the south, by car or bicycle, try Luffenholtz, Moonstone, or Clam Beach. Kids, pets, and barbecues fit right in. And of course, there's nothing like the sunsets here. A little further south, you'll find bustling McKinleyville, where horses have their right-of-way. This is also home to our main airport and the world's tallest totem pole. Golfers, here's your chance to drive through the redwoods. McKinleyville has one of the 4 public golf courses in Humboldt County.
Like the rest of California, the discovery of gold changed everything in Humboldt County. Men flocked from all over the country and beyond to stake their mining claims in the Trinity Alps. The ports of Trinidad and Humboldt Bay became important shipping centers. Supplies like axes, picks, and shovels went inland and gold came out. The path of that 100-mile trek is known today as Highway 299. As gold from the ground became scarce, these industrious newcomers realized that the true wealth of the North Coast was actually growing upward towards the sky. It was not unusual for 2 men to labor from dawn to dusk for a week to bring down a single tree. Teams of oxen would drag massive logs down hand-dug roads to Humboldt Bay. The logs floated until they could be milled. Redwood was prized around the world for its insect and decay resistance. Houses and entire cities were built from that light and sturdy lumber from Humboldt County. Redwood rebuilt much of San Francisco after the 1906 earthquake. Scotia is one of the last company-owned towns in the United States. Take the Scotia Mill tour and see, step by step, how redwood lumber is made today. Walk through the nearby demonstration forest in Pepperwood for the self-guided tour of the life stages of a redwood and the harvesting process.
When the settlers first started trickling into this area, there was only two ways to get here, by horse and by ship. Transportation has always had a great impact on life on the North Coast. The first railroads were built to transport the gold miners' supplies from ships in Humboldt Bay to where the pack mules would be loaded up for the long overland trip to the Trinity Alps. It was the rise of the logging industry, though, that really brought in the railroad lines. Rails were a far more efficient way to get the trees out of the forest and into the cities. Mills and railroad tracks were built together, mile for mile. These were some of the most profitable rail lines in the state. Steam engines may have become the workhorses, but the tall, masted wooden ships were still the supply lifeline to Humboldt County. The demand for redwood made the return voyage to San Francisco more and more profitable. Expanding jobs brought more refined tastes and better demand for the latest fashions and gadgets. With so many wooden masts sticking up, Humboldt Bay began to look like a forest of its own. Eventually, construction of sailing ships became another main industry. Several ships at a time were built in the boatyards of Fairhaven. Before the invention of the propeller, the ferry boats of Humboldt Bay were called sternwheelers, which looked like river paddle boats. This was how the workers and commodities got around the bay. So where do you see these ships and trains today? Tour our excellent Humboldt Bay Maritime Museum in Eureka. There are small railroad museums in most of the cities. If you want to see an authentic early logging machine, come to Fort Humboldt in the South Broadway area of Eureka. This outdoor museum features steam donkeys and 100-year-old locomotives on display. They're fired up on many summer weekends.
Through the years, each new mode of transportation left a defining imprint on Humboldt County. It was the arrival of the automobile, though, that really opened up the North Coast. In 1913, a highway was designed that would connect San Francisco to the Oregon border. The Redwood Highway was started with the first 5 miles being paved just south of Garberville. Improvements to this old stagecoach route made it possible for tourists to make the 292-mile trip from Sausalito to Eureka, and as one traveler described it, in 2 days and 2 sets of tires. This was one of the coolest summer trips that could be found on the highways of California. Cars and car camping became the main way for visitors to see the redwoods. While it had taken 4 days to reach Humboldt County from San Francisco by stagecoach, the passenger railroad and the early Redwood Highway cut the trip to 12 hours. Today, you can drive from San Francisco to Eureka in less than 6 hours. And once you're here, a touring paradise is open to your slightest whim on our beautiful backcountry roads.
Machines influenced life here in so many ways. To me, the most fascinating is how early homes were built and the craftsmanship of woodworking. Come on over to the Blue Ox Mill right on the bay here in Eureka. Watch us work or tour our authentic Victorian mill where we're keeping alive the fine art of Victorian architecture. Eureka has more than 800 Victorian homes and buildings with brilliantly painted faces. At the Chamber of Commerce and at many businesses, pick up a free touring map of the city's finest Victorians. Time seems to have stood still in some of these neighborhoods. Come see the glory days of Victorian architecture, some of the finest on the West Coast. But there's one building that's most photographed and stands head and shoulders above the rest, the Carson Mansion. Built in 1884, its original owner was a prominent lumber baron, William Carson. He may not have been as eccentric as it first comes to mind, for he employed 100 of his own mill workers to build the ornate mansion to avoid laying them off during a slump in the lumber industry. Today his home is a private club. get on board a horse-pulled carriage ride that will take you right past the Carson Mansion. The ride takes you through other parts of Old Town, shop in modern stores in the Victorian atmosphere, or tour the Clark Museum and see Indian craftsmanship and historical exhibits. On the waterfront today, you get echoes of a much more turbulent time in Eureka. You mix saloons, hundreds of old-time loggers, and characters right out of the Old West, and you had a pretty volatile situation. Be thankful you weren't around then, because sometimes it did get out of hand. Today, Old Town is a much more peaceful and charming place. Eureka is revitalizing the Victorian seaport, and you can't get fresher seafood. Our Dungeness crab offers some of the finest feasting in the world, and being here during the winter and spring season is a real treat. All the dining around town is great. There's quite a variety of fare, from world-renowned cuisine to international choices, and there's never a shortage of hospitality.
Art is really a major part of our community. You'll find it everywhere. In fact, it's pretty hard to miss. Like Dwayne Flatmo's murals. Catch a glimpse of an airport in the 20s, or a corner gas station in the 30s, or an eclectic mixture of whales, cows, gardens, or a friendly scene of neighbors chatting over the back fence. Don't miss Arts Alive nights on the first Saturday of each month. Stroll through Old Town and see art exhibits in shops and galleries reminiscent of the most elegant times of Victorian romance. In Eureka, we've become known as one of the best small art towns in America. We have one of the highest per capita concentrations of artists in the state, probably because of the natural beauty and inspiration of this visual paradise and the openness and warmth of the community. It's a great atmosphere for writers, painters, potters, weavers, and musicians. Enjoy our local clubs for some fine original music. From rock and roll to country to jazz and classical, there's something to please everyone. We have some of the best microbreweries on the West Coast, offering fine music with your choice of locally produced beers. Come to our major music festivals, Dixieland Jazz in the spring and Blues on the Bay concerts in the summer. There are several fine theater groups in the area, but one world-renowned and certainly most unique troupe you won't want to miss is in the town of Blue Lake, just 20 minutes north of Eureka. The Del Arte Theater Group combines plays written from local mythology with the European school of physical theater that predated slapstick comedy. Bask in the sun at their outdoor performances during the Mad River Festival each summer. For those of you into the art of sailing, you can watch or join the yacht races on Humboldt Bay. Want to rent something a little smaller? Various boats ranging from sailboats, kayaks, and canoes to rowing sculls are available in Eureka for experienced and non-experienced users. Of course, you could take one of the guided tour cruises of the bay or get on a party boat to go ocean fishing. By the way, another great place to spend an afternoon is at the Sequoia Park Zoo, just a couple minutes from downtown. In one half of the park, you see monkeys, elk, and exotic birds. On the other side, drive through a towering redwood grove, feed the ducks, or enjoy a picnic.
Arcata sits on the north end of Humboldt Bay and has a spirit all its own. Much of Arcata's talent and artistic inclination comes from Humboldt State University, nestled in its eastern hills. California's northernmost university campus excels in the arts and sciences and is known for its zaniness and intimate atmosphere. HSU's Center Arts series brings in national and international performers weekly. Just touring the extensive gardens on the campus is a real treat. A partnership between the university and the city of Arcata created the world-famous Arcata Marsh and Wildlife Sanctuary. Get your binoculars out, because the marsh is known as one of the best bird-watching sites on the Pacific Flyway. More than a third of all the bird species in the United States make their way across these wetlands. Join Godwit Days, Arcata's spring migration festival, in April. One of the reasons people come from all over the world to study this marsh is that it is actually part of Arcata's state-of-the-art wastewater treatment system. Treatment ponds filter the water naturally, while plants and microorganisms feed the birds and wildlife. Speaking of wildlife, hey kids, take off on your skateboard or inline skates at Arcata Skateboard Park. Located in the north end of town, it's one of the rare ones in the state and great fun for the properly equipped. Almost everything is within walking distance from the center of Arcata, the plaza. The heart of Arcata's life, the plaza hosts nearly all of the community events and celebrations. A certified farmers market runs every Saturday morning from mid-April until Thanksgiving. Pick up the freshest produce and flowers you can get, direct from the farmers themselves. One fun plaza event is the Oyster Festival in June. Over 3/4 of the oysters harvested in California come from Humboldt Bay, and here's a way you can sample the myriad ways to prepare them. And then there's that zaniest of all festivals that combines Humboldt County's love of mobility, art, physical skill, and cleverness. It's the Great Arcata to Ferndale Kinetic Sculpture Race. Watch human-powered vehicles go for the glory over 35 miles of streets, sand, mud, and water. This world-famous 3-day race starts on the Saturday morning of Memorial Day weekend right on the plaza.
And it all ends right here in Ferndale, where I started it. I guess it's a way of remembering our eccentric spirit. And if you want to get a taste of that, all you have to do is come to the Kinetic Sculpture Museum right here on Main Street. Ferndale is known as a Victorian village, an entire town devoted to the nuances of the Victorian era. Stroll down Main Street and see why Ferndale was voted one of the prettiest painted places in the country. Inside these gingerbread turreted structures, you'll find modern shops, art galleries, specialty stores, live theater, an authentic Victorian inn, and great restaurants. Come to one of our many celebrations like the Scandinavian Midsummer Festival, a tribute to the large Nordic population in Humboldt County. In August, we host the Humboldt County Fair, California's oldest, started back in 1896. Come and see traditional animal competitions or place your bet on your favorite horse at the racetrack. One of the oldest, largest rodeos on the North Coast is in the town of Fortuna, right on Highway 101. Join the thousands who come to see bucking broncos and bull riders each summer, or come to the annual logging competition and watch modern lumberjacks show off their skills. While you're in Fortuna, come downtown to see the old railroad depot, now a museum including interesting artifacts from turn-of-the-century rural life. And don't miss the opportunity to drive through the pastoral farmlands of the surrounding valleys.
Well, that's just about it. There's only so much we can show you in this short time. You'll have to discover many of our other treasures on your own. Some are more than an hour away from Eureka and the Humboldt Bay area. Places like Shelter Cove on our southernmost coast for deep sea fishing, or the Lost Coast with its volcanic black sand beach and the Sinkyone Wilderness area for some incredible backpacking. There are so many more of these gems in Humboldt County. Invent your own experiences in all those special places that only you will find. Humboldt County is a paradise and a playground. Ask anyone who's been here. And ask for help from anyone who lives here. Please stay a while and discover Humboldt.
And while you're here, please take good care of our home.
Please do, so that when your kids are grown, they can bring their kids.
Have fun!